What's up, everybody? Josh Armijo here. Hope everybody's doing good and well and stuff. I'm here today to do my annual honorable mentions, standalone favorites for the calendar year of 2015. Before I get into this video in question, I would like to first and foremost say to everyone that has reached out to me within the last several weeks in regards to my previous video, I would like to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for being there. Thank you for your support, your love, your kindness, and your loyalty. It means far more to me than you realize, and I can never thank you all enough for making me feel so good. It really was a big difference maker for me over these last several weeks, and all I can say is, let's hope 2016 will be a far better year for not just for me, but for everyone in general. But enough about the moping, let's get on to the point of this actual video. 2015 has been a very super stacked year when it comes to extreme metal music and assorted other releases from various different musical genres. Of course, as many of you already realize, my top 20 list is already done. But, as is the case with any sort of list, there are those certain releases that you just don't have the room for, but yet they still make a certain sort of impact in your mind, in your psyche, in your repeated listening habits. And I'm going to be talking to you about 10 albums that I felt were very awesome in their own respective rights, but I don't feel they needed somewhat of a best of year-end list to justify it. Considering this is somewhat of a list in and of itself, but still, I feel these are albums worth talking to you about. Some of these albums I've talked about here before, and a majority of these albums are going to be talked about for the very first time. Nothing is in any particular order other than the first 3 albums I'm going to show you are records, and the rest will be CDs. So let's get this video started. The first album on my honorable mentions list is the debut full-length from the band Immortal Bird, entitled Empress Abscess. This is self-released by the band on CD and released on tape and vinyl through Broken Limbs Recordings. Now, Immortal Bird are based out of Illinois, and they have a very distinct, original sort of sound for them. It's mainly rooted around death metal, but everything that ties itself around their sound makes things pop out that much more. You hear a lot of emphasis of black metal, experimental metal, grind, sludge. It's just a very original and unique sort of sound. It was evident in their 2013 EP, Acracia. Just some really amazing sounds and ideas being represented on that release. But when it comes to Empress Abscess, we get the full representation of what Immortal Bird is all about. I mean, just some incredible vocal work going on here by Ray Amate, incredible riff work, great drumming all the way throughout. These 5 songs are pretty lengthy, but they make your time worthwhile. I mean, listen to the song Saprophyte. You're going to get all the elements of Immortal Bird in that one particular song, and I really think it makes this album stand out so very special. I think Immortal Bird is a very unique band. They have really a good work ethic, a great presentation, good artwork with this album release, and I gotta say, I know that John Baisley didn't do this artwork, but I'm picking up a lot of those vibes in this artwork. I think it's really a beautiful piece of a beautiful album cover. I mean, look at this duck. That kind of thing. That was probably the worst Infidel Amsterdam impersonation you're ever going to hear in your life, so I apologize for that. But any which way, Empress Abscess by Immortal Bird is an incredible piece of metal, very original, very smart, and I look forward to hearing more great things from this band in the future, so go and check them out. The next album on my honorable mentions is the new album from the band Captain Cleanoff, entitled Rising Terror. This is released on Fat Ass Records. 2015 has been a relatively solid year for grindcore, with some heavy hitters putting out some notable releases, most notably albums from bands such as Maruta, Fuck the Facts, Antigama, and additional releases from bands such as Couple Skate and Cloud Rat. But with Captain Cleanoff, these Australians certainly know how to turn back the clock. I like that turn back the clock sort of approach for this band. What I mean by that is they have a sound that is very reminiscent of early to mid 80s earache grindcore, BBC Peel Session era grindcore. And I think that with Rising Terror, they showcase that classic, gritty, raw style of grindcore under less than 20 minutes. and I think this is a wildly entertaining album to listen to. Wildly entertaining for the considuous assault of blast beats being represented on here, the vocal styles ranging from very harsh and guttural to high-pitched ranged. I think it's sensational to listen to, and I love the intensity that Captain Cleanoff know how to do with this style of grindcore. If you're into the classic style of grindcore and less modern contemporary sort of styles of grindcore, you'll find something to enjoy with Rising Terror. I think this is a very fun album to listen to, and I think this Arif Rott from Wormrot did the artwork for this. I think this is a great album cover. Also very turn back the clock sort of style going on here with this album cover. But Rising Terror by Captain Cleanoff is a very fantastic release and worth looking into if you're into grindcore. Next on my honorable mentions is the new album from the band Dead to a Dying World entitled Litany. This was released on Tofu Carnage Records, Gilead Media. Before I talk about the music, I gotta say, this is one of the best vinyl presentations I have seen on any release all year when it comes to the packaging, the sound, and the overall delivery. I mean, I don't know if you can really see it or not, but look at all this leaf spot gloss on here. The leaf spot gloss, the foil embossment on the spine, the front, the back, the gatefold itself, absolutely beautiful to look at. And the record itself is gorgeous to look at too. Golden black splatter, looks beautiful, and it sounds good too. If you're a vinyl collector and you don't have something like this in your collection, I honestly don't know what to say to you other than I think you should really look into buying this. But as far as the music is concerned, this is a major step up from what Dead to a Dying World had put out previously. They have a very apocalyptic sort of style to their sound, very much rooted in doom metal, but also you have the elements of crust, black metal, avant-garde, very high emphasis on cello, on violin work, tremolo-picked riffs, very unique and creative vocals. It's a very beautiful and worthwhile release to dig into. It's lengthy, but I think it's well worth your time to dive into. This is bleak, this is sombering, but yet it also is heavy and beautiful at the same time. I mean, songs like Eventide and the closing track Narcissus showcase what kind of a band Dead to a Dying World really are, and they bring something really beautiful to the table with Litany. It's just something that you will want to dive into when it comes to later winter months. Mainly for those kind of months, but for many other days and months ahead. This is one of those kinds of releases that'll just make you think, in addition to making you just get enthralled by the heaviness on here. So, top quality vinyl release, top quality release all in general, Dead to a Dying World, Litany. The next album on my honorable mentions list is the debut full-length from the band Iniquitous Deeds, entitled Incessant Hallucinations, released on New Standard Elite. This band has certainly come a long way. I really have enjoyed a lot of brutal death metal releases this year. I mean, to think of other releases from bands like Carnivorous, Veracity, trying to think off the top of my head what other brutal death metal releases have come out that have been really solid. Repulsive Dissection, Putridity. But Iniquitous Deeds put out the album that appealed to me and really stuck with me the most. All around sort of standpoint. The album concepts, the lyrics, the musicianship, the production values, the vocals. Even the fact of seeing this band live earlier in the year really pinpointed my appreciation for them. And to know that they have come a long way from what they once used to sound like shows you how seriously a band like Iniquitous Deeds take their style. I think the guitar playing on here is incredible, very powerful, very heavy, technical to the point without having to sound over the top. It's done tastefully and done right. Amazing drum and bass work. The vocals are very guttural and powerful, and I love that sort of approach. Be on the lookout for this band as they tour in January with Defeated Sanity and Iniquitous Savagery. It's going to be a fantastic tour, not to mention James from Delusional Parasitosis is going to be doing some fill-in vocal work for them. So that's going to be an interesting combination to hear him do vocals and lyrics for Iniquitous Deeds during that time period. But Iniquitous Deeds is a brutal death metal band worth supporting and giving your full time and attention to. The next album on my honorable mentions is the debut full-length from the band Black Tongue, entitled The Unconquerable Dark, released on Century Media Records. These guys are based out of London in the UK, and normally I wouldn't be interested in the kind of style of music that Black Tongue play. It's a style that I don't really support or care much for anymore, but there's a certain heaviness and darkness brewing from within this band, and their past EPs aside, The Unconquerable Dark showcases the full potential that a band like Black Tongue know how to bring. They bring the elements of deathcore with elements of doom, beatdown hardcore, black metal, very, very heavily down-tuned riffs. It's just so crushing. I like when a band delivers breakdowns that can be meaningful and heavy and played very well. I think the style that this band brings is amazing. Their vocal work, the drumming, whether or not it's slow, mid-paced, or fast, every song on here takes its time. And once the payoffs come, they come very well here. I mean, In the Wake of the Wolf, Prince of Ash, just some sensationally heavy tunes going on here. And I'm very optimistic for the future of Black Tongue. I know they were supposed to play in the US with Carnifex in the last 10 Seconds of Life. I know that wasn't possible, but hopefully American audiences will be able to get a grasp of what kind of heaviness this band will bring. Of course, this will not appeal or be to everybody's liking, but I think Black Tongue bring the heaviness with a release like The Unconquerable Dark. This is a release worth looking into. Next on my honorable mentions list is the new album from the band Bootstalked, entitled Jorungavager, released on Celestial Oak Productions. This project is based out of Portland, Oregon, and is primarily a one-man project by a guy by the name of Nanvlos. And his style is very much reminiscent of the epic, elaborate storytelling style of black metal. Think, if you will, to stuff like Windir or Summoning, or more contemporary acts like Caladan Brood. Bootstalked brought together something marvelous with the first release. Can't really think off the name of it to the top of my head, and I'll probably mispronounce that, so I apologize for that. But with Jorungavager, things begin to get a lot more deeper and a lot more well thought out. When it comes to the overall concepts, the payoffs, the riff work, the drum programming, the vocal work, there's just a lot to dive deep into here. And it makes for incredible escapism. I mean, the fact that a lot of this is done in a certain native language, the overall feeling and atmosphere and vibes of a release like Jorungavager makes you want to appreciate this style of black metal a great deal more. Of course, this isn't the black metal style that I prefer. I much prefer raw, satanic, hateful sort of black metal. But this is a little bit of an escapism for me. Jorungavager is a fantastic piece of epic black metal, and if you are into that storytelling sort of style of black metal, Bootstalked delivers something incredibly amazing. There's a lot to be entertained with a release like this. This is some very solid work, and I'm glad that this was able to be put out in a physical format. The next album on my honorable mentions list is the new album from the band Ectovoid, entitled Dark Abstraction, released on Hellthrasher Productions. There has been a great multitude of death metal to come out this year that remains true to what the genre represents, and that is pure death metal. No death metal with elements of thrash, black metal, grind, or anything of that particular sense. This is straightforward, raw death metal as it gets, and Dark Abstraction shows how far a band like Ectovoid have come along. I really think that Dark Abstraction delivers some incredibly heavy moments. I mean, songs like Visions of Reflective Decay, Rituals of Hallucination, and A Prisoner of Paradox, it's just an incredibly fantastic piece of death metal. The vocal work, the drumming styles, the riffs, so incredibly heavy from the minute you put this on to the minute that it's over. These guys respect death metal. They respect death metal, they respect the craft of death metal, and they deliver something very phenomenal with an album like Dark Abstraction. And I cannot recommend this album enough to you if you are into the classic sort of style of death metal. These guys are great, and I am looking forward to seeing these guys live in 2016. They are going to be very awesome to watch, and they're great people too, so support Ecto Void and Dark Abstraction. The next album on my honorable mentions list is the debut full-length from the band Dr. Shrinker, entitled Contorted Dioramic Palette, released on Dread Records. These guys are Midwest death metal legends. This band is pretty much well known for a bunch of demos that they put out in the early 80s, most notably 1989's Wedding the Grotesque. Very gore-fueled, horror-inspired sort of death metal. Dr. Shrinker knew how to create that sort of vibe when it came to their music and their overall deliveries. And this album has been almost a quarter century in the making with the lineup that they currently bring right now. And with Contorted Dioramic Palette, they bring out the fun side of death metal, the horror movie themed sort of style of death metal. When it comes to the overall visuals, the concepts, the ideas, I think Dr. Shrinker brings something very much fun with Contorted Dioramic Palette. And what makes this album that much more entertaining is the fact that if you look at the booklet here, you're going to get some artwork that's very specific to certain songs that are on here. I mean, like the title track right here, you get this little piece of artwork right here. And in the song Chunk Blower, you got this piece of artwork right here. Awesome. Very beautiful artwork design here done for this release. And artwork aside, the music is fantastic. A lot of great old school traditional death metal riffs going on here. And I really think this is an awesome release. If you've been following Dr. Shrinker over the years, you'll come to realize that this is an album worth owning if you are a fan of old school horror themed death metal. Dr. Shrinker have made their presence felt for a very long time, and they're going to continue to do so with the album Contorted Dioramic Palette. This is worth looking into. Next on my honorable mentions list is somewhat of another release that came out a little on the late side, but I got to buy this, listen to it, and just dive deep right into it. And I'm talking about the new album from Hellgoat entitled Infernal Zeal, released on Pale Horse Recordings. I've talked about these guys before. They are a Georgia-based black metal outfit, and they play a very traditional, ethereal, satanic style of black metal, and these guys are very serious and legitimate about what they bring to their style of black metal. It's very raw, it's very evil sounding, and you can tell it's evil sounding upon the minute you first put this album on. I mean, Ascendant Fire, Ascendant Death, Death Star Arcana, Holy Satan, just some incredibly evil vibes going on with this album. The music in and itself is incredibly heavy. I love the vocal work. I just love the certain discomfort that you feel when you're in a record like Infernal Zeal. It feels as though you're in the literal depths of hell, getting ready to be destroyed by the Horned One himself. That's what you get when you listen, that's what you feel when you listen to Infernal Zeal, and I think that Hellgoat have delivered a very near perfect piece of raw US black metal. I'm very happy that this album came out, and I cannot recommend this enough to anyone who is into raw black metal. Support Hellgoat and Infernal Zeal. And the last album on my honorable mentions list is something that I've been listening to quite a lot over the last several months, and I think this album gets far better and better as soon as you listen to it. And I'm talking about the new album from Infernal War entitled Axiom, released on Agonia Records. Wow. Incredibly well-known Polish black metal outfit, very hate-fueled, very angry, very destructive, and chaos-ridden. And it shows upon this entire release. I mean, songs like Militant Hate Church, Nihil Prayer, and Eater of Hope, those are some songs that bring out the best of what Infernal War do. The song structurings, the nihilistic elements, this just feels like pure Polish black metal done properly and done with a lot of respect. It's relentless upon the minute you put this on, and really, if you've been a follower of what Infernal War have put out in the past, whether or not they went under the name Infernal War or not, you're going to find something amazing to enjoy with Axiom. I think this is an incredibly devastating release. it just feels right. It feels so good, and I think Infernal War brings something very incredible with an album like Axiom. So I'm going to leave you links in the description box to all of some selected songs from all of the albums that I've discussed with you today. If you've happened to have heard any of these albums, let me know what you think of it and where you think it lied for you in the calendar year of 2015. Stay tuned next week. I will have my top 20 list ready to talk about, and I hope you will all be there for it. So I'm going to conclude this video. Thanks a lot for watching. Thanks for checking out my channel, and until the next time, Armijo out.